My girlfriend said, "I'm quitting my job to become an influencer. You'll support us both, right?" She had 127 followers. I said, "Follow your dreams." Then I ended the lease on OUR apartment, moved into a studio, and blocked her on everything. Original post. I, 29 male, work as a claims adjuster for an insurance company. Not glamorous, not exciting, but it pays $58,000 a year, and I've got decent benefits. I'm saying this up front because I need you all to understand. I am aggressively average. I drive a 2019 Civic. I meal prep on Sundays. I have a savings account that I guard like a feral raccoon. That's who I am. My girlfriend and I had been together for 2 years. We moved in together about 10 months ago into a 2-bedroom apartment. Rent was $1,650 per month, split roughly 60/40ths because I made a bit more than her. She worked as a receptionist at a dental office making around $36,000. Not a fortune, but she handled her share just fine. Things were solid. Not perfect. She had this habit of buying stuff we didn't need off TikTok Shop like it was a competitive sport, but overall we were good. I genuinely thought we were building something. Then about 6 weeks ago, she came home from work with this energy. You know that energy? Like someone who just watched a 2-hour YouTube video about passive income and now believes they've unlocked the secrets of the universe. She sat me down at the kitchen table, which already made me nervous because nothing good ever starts with, "We need to talk," at the kitchen table. She pulled out her phone and said, and I quote, "Babe, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I've made a decision. I'm quitting my job to become a full-time content creator." I asked what kind of content. She said lifestyle and wellness. I asked what that meant specifically. She said like, share my journey and stuff. I asked what journey. She got annoyed and said, "My life journey, babe. People want to see real, authentic content." I asked how many followers she had. She said, "It's not about the numbers right now. It's about the vision." I asked again. She said 127. 127 followers. I should mention, 68 of those were people we actually knew. I know because I checked. Her mom alone had 3 accounts following her. I didn't laugh. I wanted to, but I didn't. Instead, I asked the practical questions. How long before she expected to make money? She said probably a few months, maybe 6. How are we going to cover her half of the bills? That's when she hit me with, "Well, you'll support us both, right?" That's what partners do. Now here's where I need to give some context. About 4 months before this conversation, I had floated the idea of us both cutting back on eating out to save for a vacation. Nothing crazy, just maybe cook more at home. She told me, word for word, "I'm not going to sacrifice my quality of life to pinch pennies." That sentence lived rent-free in my head for months. But now, she wanted me to essentially double my financial burden so she could post outfit of the day pics for her mom's 3 accounts. I didn't blow up. I didn't argue. I just said, "Follow your dreams, babe." She got so excited, hugged me, kissed me, immediately started talking about ring lights and tripods and how she needed to invest in her brand. I just nodded and smiled while my brain was already doing math. The next day at work, I pulled up our lease agreement on my lunch break. We were month to month at that point. Our initial 12-month lease had expired, and we'd just been rolling. Either tenant could give 30 days written notice. I reread it 3 times to make sure. That same week, she put in her 2 weeks at the dental office. She didn't even discuss the timing with me. Just came home and announced it like she'd won something. Her coworkers threw her a little going-away lunch, and she posted about it. Captioned it "Closing one chapter to write my next one" with about 14 emojis. It got 23 likes. Over the next 2 weeks, while she was finishing up at her job, I was quietly handling business. I found a studio apartment about 15 minutes away. $875 per month, utilities included. Small but clean. I signed a lease, put down first and last month's rent. Started moving small stuff over in boxes, things that were clearly mine. Books, my gaming setup, clothes. She didn't notice because she was spending every waking hour creating content, which mostly meant taking selfies in different lighting and watching other influencers' videos for research. The day after her last day at the dental office, her first official day as a full-time influencer, I sat her down at that same kitchen table. I told her I was moving out. I told her I'd given our landlord written notice. I told her she had 30 days on the lease, same as me, and after that she'd need to either take it over solo or find somewhere else. The look on her face went through about 6 stages. Confusion, disbelief, the nervous laugh, then anger. "You can't just do that," she said. I told her I literally just did. I showed her the notice I'd submitted. I showed her the text confirmation from our landlord acknowledging it. She asked if I was breaking up with her. I said yes. She asked why. I said because I'm not going to bankroll someone else's fantasy while being told I'm pinching pennies for suggesting we eat at home more. She started crying and asking me to think about this. I told her I'd been thinking about it for 2 weeks, longer than she'd thought about quitting her job. Actually, that one landed. I could tell because she stopped crying and started yelling. I didn't engage. I'd already moved about 70% of my stuff out. I took the last few boxes that night, left the furniture we'd bought together. I took what was mine, left what was hers, split the shared stuff pretty fairly TBH, and I blocked her on everything. Phone, Instagram, all of it. Cold. Maybe. But I'd watched this woman spend $340 on a ring light setup while telling me she'd get me back for the groceries she owed me from last month. That was 3 weeks ago. And brother, let me tell you, the fallout has been spectacular. Update 1, 10 days later. So I posted this expecting maybe a few comments telling me I was either a genius or a monster. Did not expect my inbox to look like a disaster zone. Thanks for all the responses, even the ones calling me cold-blooded. Fair enough. Here's what's happened since. First 3 days, radio silence. I figured she was either processing or plotting. Turns out it was both. Day 4, her sister called me from an unknown number. I picked up not knowing who it was. The second I heard her voice, I knew I was in for it. She opened with what kind of man abandons his girlfriend when she's trying to better herself. I asked her if she'd seen the follower count. She called me petty and said I was threatened by a woman with ambition. I said I'm threatened by my electric bill going up 100% while my household income drops 40%. She hung up on me. Day 5, I got a long email from her mom. And when I say long, I mean this woman wrote me a dissertation. The general thesis was that I had led her daughter on, that I had encouraged her to quit. Technically true. I did say follow your dreams, which, okay, fair, that one's on me a little, and that a real man would support his partner's career transition. She also mentioned that her daughter had already turned down a callback from a temp agency because she didn't want to give up on her dreams so soon. Her mom wanted me to know that I was responsible for that decision somehow. I didn't respond to the email. I screenshot it and saved it because I've learned from this sub that you save everything. Day 6 is when things got interesting. A buddy of mine sent me a screenshot. She'd posted a TikTok, her first real content as a full-time creator. It was a tearful video about how the person she trusted most abandoned her for chasing her passion. No names, but very obvious if you knew us. It had about 400 views, which was technically her best performing content ever. The comments were split between "Queen, you deserve better" and "Girl, you had 127 followers." By day 8, she'd burned through the sympathy content and pivoted to unbothered era posts. Except she was very clearly bothered. She posted a haul video of stuff she bought at Target. New planner, new journal, some crystals, a vision board kit captioned "Investing in myself." Easily $150 plus worth of stuff. I just stared at that video thinking about how she had maybe 1 month of savings left tops. Then day 9 happened. I get a knock on my studio door at 9 p.m. It's her. She found out where I lived. Later figured out she'd asked a mutual friend who didn't know any better. She wasn't yelling this time. She was doing the other thing, the soft voice, the watery eyes, the "can we just talk" approach. She said she missed me. She said she was sorry for not discussing the job thing with me first. She said she'd been thinking and maybe she could do content creation part-time while getting another job. For about 30 seconds, I almost caved. I'm not made of stone. Then she said, I just need a little help with rent this month. Just this once. And then I'll figure it out. There it was. That's what the visit was really about. She needed $1,650 or whatever the landlord was going to charge her solo for the remaining time on the notice period. I told her I wasn't going to do that. She asked why I was being so cruel about money. I reminded her that 4 months ago, I was pinching pennies for suggesting we cook at home. She didn't appreciate having her own words played back. The soft voice evaporated real quick. She said I was going to regret this, that I was making an enemy out of someone who knows all my secrets. I asked her what secrets, my Netflix password, my Costco membership. She didn't find that funny. She left. I changed my door code that night and told my landlord not to let anyone into the building who wasn't a resident. Date 10. Yesterday, her sister texted me from yet another unknown number. Apparently, my ex couldn't make rent. She'd asked her mom for money, and her mom said she could move back home, but wasn't going to fund the apartment. Her sister wanted to know if I'd at least pay my half for the month since the lease technically still had me on it for a few more days. I called my landlord directly, confirmed my notice period obligations were fulfilled, and confirmed in writing that I was clear. Then I texted her sister back. I fulfilled all my legal obligations on the lease. I wish her well. Her sister called me a coward. Sure, a coward with $875 per month studio and zero financial dependence. Oh, and her follower count? 143. She gained 16 followers from the breakup content. At this rate, she'll be monetized by roughly the year 2089. Update 2, 12 days later. All right, y'all. I wasn't going to post again, but the last 2 weeks have been absolutely unhinged, and I feel like I owe the people who've been following this an ending, or at least a chapter break. So after my last update, things escalated in a way I genuinely didn't predict. First, she didn't move home. Her mom's offer to move back apparently came with conditions. No more influencer stuff, get a real job immediately, hand over her phone during family hours. Her mom is old school. So instead of taking that deal, my ex called up her friend from college, a girl who had a 1-bedroom apartment and a futon. She moved onto that futon with 2 suitcases and her ring light. I know this because the college friend's roommate is in my broader social circle, and word travels. Apparently, my ex showed up and immediately started treating the 1-bedroom like a content studio. She rearranged the living room furniture for better lighting. She was filming at odd hours. The college friend's actual roommate, the one paying half the rent, was losing it within 4 days. But here's where the entitlement goes nuclear. About a week after she moved in with a friend, I got a Venmo request from my ex for $400. The memo said, my half of the security deposit. Now, our original security deposit on the apartment was $1,650, and the landlord was processing the return. I'd already talked to him about it, and because there was no damage, we were getting most of it back. But the way our lease was structured, the deposit refund was going to be mailed as one check to the primary leaseholder. That was me. I was absolutely planning to split it with her fairly. I'm not a thief, but she didn't ask me about it. She sent a Venmo request for a specific amount with no conversation. No. Hey, can we figure this out? Just a demand. And $400 wasn't even the right number. Her share would have been closer to $680 based on what we'd each contributed. I declined the Venmo request and sent her an email. Yes, email, because she was still blocked on everything else and I wanted a paper trail, explaining that the deposit refund hadn't been processed yet, and I'd send her share when it arrived. Professional, clear, documented. Her response? She had her sister call me again. The sister said I was withholding her money and that she was going to look into legal options. I told the sister very calmly that there was nothing to look into, that the landlord was processing the refund per standard procedure, and that I had it in writing. The sister said, we'll see about that. Nothing happened legally. Of course nothing happened, but the threat was annoying. Now here's the part where I have to be honest about something. Up until this point, I've been playing defense. Blocking, ignoring, fulfilling my obligations, moving on. But then something happened that flipped a switch in me. I found out through a mutual friend group that my ex had been telling people I was emotionally abusive. Not physically. She wasn't going that far. But she was telling anyone who'd listen that I was controlling with money, that I isolated her from her goals, and that I kicked her out with nowhere to go. That last part especially made my blood boil. I gave her 30 days notice. Same as the lease required. Same as I got. She chose not to plan for it. So here's what I did. I didn't make a post about it. I didn't confront her publicly. What I did was way more effective. I went to every single mutual friend who I actually cared about, There were about 6 of them, and I had individual, calm, in-person conversations. I brought receipts. I showed them the lease agreement. I showed them the written notice with a date stamp. I showed them the email about the deposit. I showed them the Venmo request with the wrong amount. I showed them the text from her sister threatening legal action. I didn't trash talk my ex. I just laid out the timeline and the documentation and said, I want you to have the full picture because I'm hearing that a different story is going around. Every single one of them had the same reaction. This uncomfortable silence followed by, she told us something pretty different. 2 of those friends confronted her about the inconsistencies. She apparently broke down and admitted she'd exaggerated some things because she was hurt. But she didn't apologize to me. She didn't correct the record with anyone I didn't personally talk to. She just stopped bringing it up, which meant the lie was still floating out there with anyone I hadn't reached. Whatever. I protected the relationships I cared about. The rest could think whatever they wanted. Now for the part everyone's been waiting for, the influencer career update. 3 weeks into her full-time content creation journey, she had posted 34 videos across TikTok and Instagram. Her best performer was the crying breakup video at around 900 views. Everything else averaged about 40 to 60 views. She gained maybe 50 followers total across platforms. She was nowhere near monetization on anything. Meanwhile, the college friend situation imploded. Apparently, my ex hadn't paid anything toward groceries or utilities in the 2 weeks she'd been there. When a friend asked her to chip in, my ex said she was in a transitional period and that real friends support each other. The friend told her she had until the end of the week to either start paying or leave. She left, packed her 2 suitcases and her ring light, and went home to her mom's. With the conditions: no more content creation during family hours. Job search starting immediately. I found all this out because the college friend actually reached out to me directly to apologize for giving my ex my apartment building's location. She said she felt bad about it and that she understood now why I'd left. I told her no hard feelings. Last I heard, which was about 4 days ago, my ex is living at her mom's, working a temp job at some office doing data entry, and her Instagram bio still says full-time content creator wellness lifestyle, even though she hasn't posted in 9 days. Her follower count when I last looked, 151. As for me, I'm doing all right. My studio is small, but it's mine. My bills are predictable. I started putting the money I'm saving on rent into an index fund. Nothing fancy, just consistent. I eat what I want when I want. I watch what I want without someone filming a what I eat in a day video over my shoulder while I'm trying to enjoy my Tuesday night burrito. Do I miss her? Honestly, sometimes. Late at night when the studio is too quiet. Yeah, I miss having someone there. But I don't miss being someone's financial safety net while they chase a fantasy they spent less time planning than I spend planning my weekly grocery list. My buddy asked me last week if I felt guilty. I thought about it for a while and said no. I don't feel guilty for refusing to set myself on fire to keep someone else warm. I feel guilty that I said follow your dreams when I should have said this is a terrible plan and here's why. But I also know that if I'd said that, she would have called me unsupportive and controlling and probably quit anyway. Some people have to find a floor before they stop falling. I just decided I wasn't going to be the floor. Anyway, that's the whole story. Probably my last update, unless something truly wild happens. Thanks for reading. And to everyone in the comments who said I was cold for how I handled this. Yeah, maybe, but my rent is $875 a month, my savings account is growing, and I haven't been Venmo requested for someone else's bad decisions in almost 2 weeks. I'll call that a win.